You could call it wishful thinking, but I'm hopeful if you make it to the end of this podcast, I said if people, you can answer, yes, I get it now. You can answer the question, the title of this podcast, Lima Charlie Dave, loud and clear. I can't fool my subs. You guys know, I bet a few of you know, I bet a good number of you know how I'm going to start this podcast, but I bet you don't have a clue, even though I gave you a clue in yesterday's podcast, the link, where I'm going to end up. So stay with me, people, because I'm just getting started on Sunday, the 15th of May, 2022. Mid-May. So, let's roll. And yes, I'm going to play the intro again in the hopes that it finally sinks in, and then just a few minutes of Dane Winnington's Global Alert News, the bad news broadcast. Here we go. Pay attention, naysayers, those still in doubt.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Engineered weather whiplash and mayhem all over the world. Flash drought, flash floods, sudden snowstorms, even at far above freezing temperatures. Massive hail, wild windstorms, year-round wildfires. Yes, weather disasters would be worsening even in the absence of climate intervention operations. But with them, all is now in the balance. Climate chaos and climate collapse are crushing crops all over the world. Covert climate intervention operations are core to the equation. When will the so-called climate experts stand together, stand up, and tell the whole truth? What will it take for a larger percentage of the population to look up and take notice of the ongoing geoengineering atrocities in our skies? When the market shelves are completely cleaned out of remaining food supplies, is that what it will take? The controllers want populations divided, polarized, and fighting each other. Is that not shockingly obvious by now? Fighting about climate, energy, inflation, politics, and that subject we're not allowed to mention on social media. Populations are almost completely divided and fighting about everything. What the controllers don't want populations from any side of the political fence talking about, or even being aware of, is what's being done in our skies. Mass formation societal psychosis. Is the Chinese-style lockdown coming for us all? And about the skies in China, how many notice that they're almost always white? A telltale sign of climate engineering solar radiation management operations. Back to imploding food supplies from PBS. A highly contagious strain of bird flu plagues farmers across the U.S. Enjoy that chicken and turkey while you can.
Oh, they're going to take away my chicken and my turkey. Them dirty son of a bitches. All right, there you go, people. Come on. You got a president of the United States, a former president, 60 years ago. You think they might have improved on the technology over 60 years? Do you think they might have gotten a little better, just perhaps? Tucker even mentions, so obvious, the Biden administration knows all about geoengineering, as did all previous administrations, including Trump. Now, I just played yesterday a CIA director. He wasn't speaking before secret agents meeting in a deep underground military base. No, it was a public forum hosted by the CFR, Council on Foreign Relations. People, I'm going to have to ask the question for some of you hard heads out there. How much evidence do you need? Come on, you're in serious denial. Yesterday morning, after it rained again, it sucked. It was cold and, believe it or not, windy. What is that, 4 effing days in a row? I had to wear gloves while performing my outdoor chores. No, I'm not a pussy. My hands were goddamn cold. It's mid-May. You gotta wake up. Those of you who are still in serious denial. Alright, moving on. Now, I'm not tiptoeing on thin ice here, people. I'm dancing on it, and I need your help. Read between the lines, if you know what I'm saying. Hey, there's an old saying, and you know I love old sayings. Kind of goes like this. To figure out who rules and controls you, figure out who you are not allowed to criticize. Just saying. Keep that in your mind. Okay. Yesterday, a link to a 4-minute video. Did you watch it? If you didn't, people, why not? 4 minutes? The creator of said video did an amazing job exposing truths with sarcasm. And yes, there will be another link today. Come on, only 16 minutes. If you want, I mean really, really want to see the big picture, it's a must watch. It sure will clear up a lot of things for you. Now, I'm not bragging, far too humble for that. But this is old news to me, especially real origins. And you'll understand that if you dare watch the linked video. That's all I dare say. Watch the link, people. An excellent verse of scripture must be read here. Come on, one verse. Got you guys wine. It's Sunday, State Church Day. Can't handle one verse of scripture. It's an important one. Luke 12, verse 2. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. It's all coming full circle, people. The truth is like a square of jello held in your fist. The harder you squeeze, the more force it oozes out through your fingers. That truth is going to win out and get out. Okay. Now this all, I mean all, did I say all, ties in. Let's talk, believe it or not, about the Ukraine. Let's talk about 2014. Murray's great aunt, Victoria Nuland, and a slew of Murray's distant relatives. Change of government, don't you know? By design. Now, let's take a look at an article in Haaretz. It's a leading newspaper in Israel. It's got an unusual title. Has our expiration date arrived? The question is not whether Israel will still exist in 10 years, but what kind of Israel will be here in 10 years. And it was written, posted, published on October 9th, 2012. Hey, that's a few years before the toppling of the old Ukraine government. Just going to read the first line. Former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger said not long ago that in 10 years there would be no more Israel. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, people. Hang on to these thoughts. Connect the dots, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, you got to start learning how to connect these dots, man. They're not that difficult. I did them in all the coloring books when I was a kid. Excuse me. Now let's jump to the present. The absolute insanity concerning the action of our government and their quote-unquote response to Russia violating the Ukraine border. Give me a break. I almost said give me a fucking break. Do you really believe that is the reason? When in history has America so overreacted to the violation of another country's border when our own border is so wide open and being invaded by the slews of military-aged men? Look at the pictures, people. When has military aid been shipped so quickly at the expense of depleting our own military's arsenals? They're running out of shit. Not to mention what they left over in Afghanistan, but they're sending all their surplus stuff to the Ukraine because Russia invaded their border. Those goddamn Russians. When have massive amounts of money, billions, been approved and sent so quickly? Sometimes in under 3 days. You've seen it. Now remember, it took 6 months to send out stimulus checks to just us pissant peon Americans. When has this country and our NATO allies ever taken such a cavalier approach to possible nuclear war with even threatened attacks on American cities? American cities is where American citizens live, people. They kind of go together. If they nuke us, well, we'll just nuke them back. Well, then the game is on, is it not? When it comes to recent polls on what concerns Americans, you know, the peons, the slaves, Ukraine doesn't even make the top 10. But it sure as hell is issue number 1, primo supremo, for our government. Am I making that up? Or is it the truth? You know it's the truth. No one in our government even hinted. Maybe there's a peaceful solution, boys. to our problem with Russia? Not one. No, we're not talking to the Russians. Those goddamn Russians. You can't talk peace to them. They don't know peace. It's not in their vocabulary. So let me ask you, who has the power to make America act like a trained circus animal? And K. Bono, who benefits? Well, I'll tell you what, it ain't us. Oh boy, you're right, Dave. It's those goddamn Democrats. Those filthy, commie, dirty rats. Yeah. No, it's not, people. It's not just the Democrats. You gotta learn how to watch Republicans slip in each other's shit, trying to get to the podium to announce their vote, their undying support for, yeah, believe it or not, the Ukraine. I dare not say more. Nope, but if you really, really, really want to know, if you really, really, really want current events to make sense, watch the link. You don't even have to watch all 16 minutes of it. And that should clear up the fog. Son of a bitch. Look, I'm running late. I got stuff to do.